Some people are always alone, but being alone doesn't mean being unhappy. We judge what we don't understand. But behavior can hide many reasons. Two lonely people can feel completely different. For one, solitude is peace. For another, it's pain. So there's a better question. Do they actually want friends? Being alone isn't the same as loneliness. Solitude is physical loneliness. Is emotional, you can feel alone in a crowd. For some, solitude feels like freedom. They don't have to impress anyone. Sometimes friendship feels like pressure, but for others, silence hurts. Loneliness can feel incredibly heavy. They simply want someone who cares. But wanting friends isn't always enough. Then fear enters the picture. What if they reject me? The brain imagines rejection first, so they stay silent, and the moment simply disappears. Avoiding rejection also avoids connection. Safety comes at a price. The brain begins learning the pattern avoidance brings. Temporary relief and safety can become a habit. Sometimes the past explains the present. People remember how they were hurt. Rejection can leave deep marks, so the mind builds protection. The wall keeps people away, but it also keeps connection out. They want closeness. Without the risk, trust becomes difficult. Past pain changes future behavior. Sometimes leaving feels safer. Friendship requires trust. Trust requires vulnerability. You have to reveal parts of yourself, and vulnerability feels risky, especially after being hurt. So some people reveal very little. They keep conversations superficial. Eventually people stop trying, and isolation becomes stronger. But not everyone without friends is lonely. Some people genuinely enjoy independence. They enjoy their own company. Silence doesn't bother them. Solitude can feel energizing. They may know many people, but they don't need constant company, and that's not necessarily unhealthy, but society expects us to belong. Social media makes this stronger. Everyone seems connected online, and comparison creates pressure. You start wondering what's wrong with you, but you only see the picture. You don't see what happens behind it. Numbers don't prove connection. One real connection can be enough. Sometimes people push others away. They stop replying. They cancel plans. Closeness can feel dangerous. The brain starts looking for danger, so they create distance. Leaving first feels safer, but control can become isolation, and sometimes they regret it. The connection disappears. It can start with one belief: nobody actually likes me. That belief changes behavior. They become more withdrawn. Others notice the distance, and they may pull away. The belief seems confirmed. The cycle becomes stronger, but the cycle can be broken. The mind adapts even to loneliness. Routine becomes familiar. Familiar can feel safe, and safety can become normal. Eventually connection feels unfamiliar. Even when they want it, independence feels peaceful. Avoidance feels protective. They may look identical, but their inner worlds differ. One feels peaceful, the other feels protected. That's an important difference. Friendship was easier as a child. You saw people every day. Then adulthood changes everything. Life becomes crowded. Friendship requires effort. Someone has to reach out. Someone has to follow up. Otherwise, friendships fade. Sometimes nobody is to blame. Maybe they simply haven't found their people. Not every group feels right. Some people prefer depth. One deep connection can matter more. Sometimes the right people are rare. Then everything can change. Connection suddenly feels easy. Maybe the problem wasn't friendship. Maybe it was finding the right person. Sometimes several factors combine. Rejection creates insecurity. Insecurity creates avoidance. Avoidance creates isolation. Isolation strengthens the belief, and the cycle repeats. One experience becomes a pattern. The pattern becomes a habit. Eventually, it becomes identity. Then the question changes. Maybe I'm the problem. The problem becomes personal. It becomes part of who they are. Every awkward moment becomes evidence. Success gets ignored. The mind protects its old story, but old stories can change. So why? Some people have no friends. Sometimes it's personality. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's the past. Sometimes it's simply choice. Sometimes it's circumstance. Often it's a combination. We rarely see the full story. We only see the behavior. We don't see what caused it. That's why judgment can be misleading. Sometimes silence has a story, and every story is different. There is no single reason. There are many. Some people genuinely prefer solitude. Others are afraid of connection. Some are protecting old wounds. Some simply don't know how, and some desperately want someone. Maybe having no friends isn't the real mystery. Maybe the mystery is what loneliness means. Friendship means different things to everyone. For some, it means belonging. For others, it means danger, protection. connection can look like distance, and distance can hide pain. So, why do some people have no friends? Because every person has a different reason. Some choose solitude, some choose protection, some are carrying old pain, some are afraid to try, and some are simply waiting. You don't need hundreds of friends, sometimes one is enough. One person can change everything. Connection starts small. Sometimes it starts with one risk, one small act of vulnerability. A wall doesn't always have to stay. Understanding is where change begins. Being alone isn't automatically a problem. The real question is what it means to you. Every lonely person has a different story. Some stories are about choice, others are about finally feeling safe, because sometimes one genuine connection is all we need.